You're excited about the league is the other thing on your...
That's the thing, I think we'll be speaking about this later on a small bit, but I'm massively excited for the league because I think rightly football has taken a bit of a hard time over the past 8, 9, 10 months, and people tend to say, well, every football match, or the majority of the football matches that I'm watching on television, say last summer, are poor affairs. They're low scoring, they're defensive, it's not very attractive, and as a neutral I'm not actually interested in watching this particular game, and I think that's fair enough. But I think we need to remember that that is the championship. The championship is the most important football conversation in the country, or most important football competition in the country, but it also happens to be the worst football competition in the country. The vast majority of the games are completely meaningless because you're putting up crap teams up against good teams, teams with far more resources than others, teams with far bigger populations than others, whereas in the league you have parity, you have crap pitches, but you have far better affairs. And I think Division 1, despite the fact that it's not as important as, say, 2 or 3 in terms of the general scheme of your entire year, I think is one of the best sporting competitions we have in the country. I love Division 1 of the Football League. I'll watch every single game if I could, and hopefully eventually we get to a stage where we will be able to watch every single game like an NFL Game Pass or something like that. I'm sure any football fan out there is buzzing for this weekend, but even more so if you're a fan of a county, in particular in Division 3 or 4, because really this is the most important 10 weeks or whatever it is of your year. And it's sad to say that, but it's true, because you haven't a prayer of winning the All-Ireland. Yeah, well, I mean, there was a team that came in under the radar that beat the Dubs last weekend that we'll see that maybe be able to sort of put it up to some of these traditional counties. People who are kind of like taking the piss out of Westmeath for celebrating that are completely wrong, because they should be, because the O'Byrne Cup is on the doorstep of the most important couple of weeks of their year. The O'Byrne Cup is something that, and when Leitrim won the FBD leagues down through the years, what was it, 2013-14, they did back-to-back or something, people were like, oh, Leitrim for Sam, but it's like, actually, hold on a minute, these are actually really... The famine is over. Well, these are actually really important from that county's perspective, that they actually have a bit of silverware. They've actually got the idea of going toe-to-toe with a team that at least is wearing the Dublin jersey. I know it's not the Dublin team, but like I think we need to actually look at this and say, well, this thing is deriving a lot of pleasure for this group of players, and but all the work they've been doing over the winter is actually worthwhile. And if it's just no O'Byrne Cup, it's just no O'Byrne Cup. But I think it's important, and I think the National League, from a Westmeath perspective, from your perspective, here until April is the most meaningful time of the year, and it's unfortunate that that's the case. But hey, championship structures. Westmeath is to the O'Byrne Cup as Kerry is to Sam Maguire. Well, exactly. You know, like exactly. We look at it in similar fashion. Here's the Tyrone team, by the way, to take on Kerry this weekend. That came out there last night. So pretty strong looking team on. Yeah, Kyle Coney's on the bench as well. Lee Brennan's on the bench. It's the thing with Tyrone, which they tried to kind of get off their shoulder last year, was this idea that they're very thin once you get into the bench. Derek Canavan as well, by the way. Derek Canavan, of course. They can't be depending on him too much this year, really. And you've got the likes of Ed McCrory and Conor Myler there as well. Kieran McGeary as well. Like, it's a very, very strong bench, which is the most encouraging thing from a Tyrone perspective. When we did our predictions here at the start of the year, I kind of put Tyrone and Galway in the same bracket, where I think they're both going to do worse than they did last year. I think that they were helped by the fact that a couple of other counties underperformed last summer. Looking at that bench now, I wonder if I'll be revising that opinion pretty soon. I think Tyrone might have a bit of a kick in them. There might be a little bit of Kerry of last season is the only thing about them, that some of those players are obviously, while Kyle Coney had been there before and obviously drifted off, like Derek Canavan, who by all accounts people speak very highly of, and it seems to be the second coming of his father. It might be just a little bit too early for them is the only thing, but we'll see how that advances over the course of the next little while, and obviously into the championship as well. The other team that was named last night was the European Player of the Year Award 2019 nominees, a team of 15 here. You can see it on your screen, 8 of whom are Irish, 7 of whom are Irish based, I think. So it's Tadhg Byrne, Jerry Carberry, Sean Cronin, Tadhg Furlong, Peter O'Mahony, Simon Zebo, Jacob Stockdale and Gary Ringrose are the Irish players to be nominated. So 8 out of 15 is not bad. It did, I have to say, when I saw it on, I was surprised by some of the inclusions. Really? Yeah, like just on the basis that this is the Irish inclusions. Yeah, 15. These are the 15 best players. You know, I know there's a little bit of sort of give and take here in terms of positions and all that kind of stuff. It's not quite like your pound for pound champion, but definitely surprised by some of the inclusions on it. You know, Simon Zebo is obviously one of the top try scorers in France and in Europe as well, by his own admission over the last few weeks, sort of admitting that he's not in the most fantastic shape, that he's enjoying the French lifestyle. Is that the euphemism? Is that how we put it? That, you know, maybe he could be a little bit trimmer, by his own admission, he was saying over the last few weeks. Sean Cronin, as you know,
well as he's been doing from a try-scoring point of view, the idea that he's, one of the top 15 players in Europe, I'm not 100% sure about. So that's sort of my take on it all. It's Peter Manny, justifiable, obviously. Gary Ringrose, Jacob Stockdale. Joey Carberry's the other one that sort of, there's no room for Johnny Sexton in there, but Joey Carberry gets the nomination. I know these things are very subjective, but don't know. Thought of a few names that sort of stood out to me has been somewhat surprising.
So you think Johnny Sexton had a better Champions Cup pool stages than Joey Carberry did? I know
you're going to point to one game particularly that Joey Carberry obviously had.
No, in general. Because you can equally point to the Castro game where he was poor.
Yeah.
Are you saying overall that Johnny Sexton had a better Champions Cup pool stage?
It just surprised me. When I saw it initially, I thought that's a touch surprising.
Okay, well, the key difference here is this is the team of the Champions Cup so far this season, not the best team in Europe. If it was the best team in Europe, it'd be boring. It'd be Johnny Sexton, it'd be Billy Vunipola, it'd be James Ryan. Tyke Furlong will obviously be in all those teams, and I know he is still there. He's brought that form through. Like, the thing is, you're coming off a summer tour to Australia. These players tend to ease themselves into the season, particularly in Leinster and Munster's case, and then you're coming off November as well for a couple of more things. So, as tends to be the case, there's a couple of breakout stars in the Champions Cup pool stages. As you've rightly pointed out, Simon Zebo has been brilliant. Thankfully, this is not a trim contest. This is a contest of who's been the best rugby player so far in the Champions Cup pool stages, and Simon Zebo has been excellent. There are only two players who've scored more tries than Simon Zebo in the Champions Cup pool stages, and those names are Jacob Stockdale and Sean Cronin, who you point out does not deserve to be there.
Well, I will point out that this is not, and I'll just double check it here again, the European Player of the Year nominees, not the who scored the top tries in Europe this season. It's Player of the Year.
Have you watched Simon Zebo?
Yeah, well, I've watched.
He's been brilliant. He's been brilliant.
Yeah, he's been good. Yeah, no, I'll give you that.
He's been excellent. Simon Zebo 100% deserves to be on that list. The idea that Sean Cronin's position on that list is even up for debate
because he scored 6 tries.
Yes, he's a hooker.
I know, but actually, isn't that sort of the whole point? That, like, that's not his gig, and, like, no matter if this isn't a case of if somebody goes on and scores 100 tries that they're suddenly, like, it's not a try scoring contest. Like, Cronin's not on there. He's not on the team to score tries. It's a fantastic added bonus that I'm sure Leo Cullen, Stuart Lancaster.
So he's the starting hooker on a team that is where now? Oh yes, home quarter final in the Champions Cup. What more do you want him to do? That game in Toulouse, is that the black mark you're using against him? And who would you have in his place? Are we putting in Niall Scannell there instead? Who is the hooker that you want to see in there instead of Sean Cronin? He's been outstanding, and it's not this idea that it's always been up the jumper sort of stuff and pushing the ball over the line. Like, in terms of his statistics, he's beaten 9 defenders, he's had 42 carries, 3 clean breaks. These are outrageous statistics from a hooker's standpoint. It is all around the pitch, outstanding stuff from Sean Cronin. He deserves to be there.
None of that, and
Simon Zebo deserves to be there. And Joey Carberry, coming back to one of the more ludicrous points.
I wouldn't be, neither of us are a front row expert, but none of those stats that you've mentioned there, including the tries of anything to do with the nuts and bolts of being a hooker.
No, my point is that you could say, oh, he's got tries because Leinster have been in an excellent field position and has taken the ball and just driven the ball over the line. That's why I brought those statistics up. He's actually taken a couple of those tries from impressive positions, from Gary Ringrose's position, for example.
So, can I just also point out, I'm not suggesting that these players are having bad seasons.
No, but you say they don't deserve to be in the top 15 players in the Champions Cup.
What I actually said was I was surprised to see them on the list.
In fact, those 3 players would probably be top of my list for a Champions Cup pool stages.
Come off it now.
In terms of the Heineken Cup pool stages,
those 3 players would not be your top 3 players.
They would be well up there. Sean Cronin without question, Simon Zebo without question, and Joey Carberry with the biggest...
I don't think any of those players is actually going to win the award.
Joey Carberry with the single best performance by any player in a single match in the Champions Cup pool stages. The most away points by any player, the most points I think by any player in one game in the away trip to Gloucester, helping his team to the biggest away win we've seen in the pool stages.
You don't seriously think that one of those players is actually going to win the award?
I think Joey Carberry's in an excellent position to do it. Also, the way he's had his poor showing against Castro and has come back since then to be imperious, hasn't missed a kick since. I think those 3 players, if you're picking 15, those 3 players are absolute guarantees to be in there from the best players at the pool stages.
Well, they are in the 15, but I'm saying I don't think any of them are going to win it.
I think Sean Cronin is probably the biggest outsider there.
Why?
From the 3 of those.
Why?
I'm not.
Well, you just said he was in the top. He made up your top 3.
Yeah, I would have Zebo and Carberry ahead of him. I would say
Stockdale must be.
I would say Zebo. If Racing win the tournament, Zebo's got an excellent chance because he's been one of their best players. and Carberry has been the best out half so far in the Champions Cup because of the heights that he's reached. Maybe there can be questions over the consistency level because of the Castres game, but I think those questions are going to be answered sooner rather than later, and I think in fact he's already answered that. Like, he's kicked the winning score against Exeter on top of that incredible performance in Kingsholm. I think those three players, it was the least surprising names on the list.
What is it about these three players who all have Munster connections that you most admire?
Well, that's a good point, actually. Didn't even think of that, but I guess it's less to do with what's the Munster connection that I admire. It's more to do with what other things do they have in their locker other than being from Munster that makes them so great.
Here's what's coming up between now and just after 9 o'clock. We're going to get stuck into the sports pages in just a few minutes and let you know what's happening there from all of those. We're going to have Tommy Bowe in studio in about 10 minutes time. That's to we will put that team to him, of course, and see where he falls down on it, but we're also going to discuss his depth chart for the back three, so it'll round off our 1 to 15 of the Irish team, the Irish squad for the World Cup. So that's Tommy Bowe coming very shortly. Something for the weekend is a new item that we've just literally named this minute, and that's myself and Owen's picks for the weekend, so things to that you should watch or listen or read, or maybe stuff that you should avoid over the weekend as well. So that's coming your way about 8:30. The sports news with Will O'Callaghan will be shortly after that. And Paul Rouse is going to join us in studio. He's been writing this morning with the Irish Examiner about the hike in prices for the league. So that's all coming your way between now and just after 9 o'clock. So it is time for the newspapers, and we're going to start with the Irish Times this morning, which leads the way at the top here with Louise holds his nerve to seal Chelsea's shootout win. So this was David Luiz scoring the winning penalty at Stamford Bridge last night as Chelsea beat Spurs by 4-2 on penalties was the way that one wrapped up. Solskjaer taking his love for the FA Cup to the dugout. A nice sort of nostalgic photograph there for former United player Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who's getting ready for the Arsenal game obviously tonight. United boss reckons Pogba is captain material. We've obviously seen this before. And Henry suspended by Monaco following dismal run. It's one of the most bizarre stories, I have to say, that I've seen in football. A bizarre, mad world doing a bizarre, mad thing, suspending Thierry Henry as opposed to just sacking him. Kenny, it's not my job to get players to opt for Ireland. This is Stephen Kenny saying that he won't necessarily be doing a huge amount of work to attract dual eligibility players, writes Dan MacDonald there. Lowe reiterates interest in declaring for Ireland. So this is the Leinster wing who'll become eligible for Ireland in 2020. So we need not worry about that for a couple of years. England's siege mentality is the Times Ireland edition here. Cullen expects Jones to galvanise his players before the Six Nations opener against Ireland next weekend, writes Kieran O'Rahilly there. Pogba back for captaincy as well. And the Irish Examiner this morning, I mentioned that article with Paul Rouse that we're going to get to a little bit, but sweet spot is the front page photograph here. David Luiz again in celebration mode last night.
Back page of the Irish Daily Mail this morning is spot on for the final. Chelsea through after shootout drama. They're up against Manchester City now in the Carabao Cup final. They beat Spurs 4-2 on penalties last night. Back page of the Herald is Alexis still ace, says Emery. Gunners boss wary of United misfit as Ole talks up Pogba. And you've also got Fenton part of Gavin's plan for Clonus trip. There was some suggestion that Brian Fenton wouldn't be available for the Dubs this weekend, but it seems like he is going to be in the squad at the very least for Jim Gavin up in Clonus. Back page of the Irish Daily Star is through Blues. Sarri's men advance on penalties. Solskjaer saying there as well, Pogba can be my captain. Back page of the Mirror this morning is Alexis will love to be hated. Ole predicts Sanchez will relish the taunts. And Mr. Motivator, Sarri gets his final reward. Maurizio Sarri telling Eden Hazard he doesn't have leadership qualities, slating his players after they were beaten by Arsenal last weekend, and it's all paid off for them now because they're in the Carabao Cup final. Although he did say afterwards we're probably not going to win the Carabao Cup final. So all these mind games from Sarri.
He'll have to do who really cares. Like,
and he's also said I'll probably be sacked by this stage next season as well. He's just like double jinxing every single opportunity he possibly can. Maurizio Sarri. Bluey's the colour. Stars spot on after Sarri's swipe. That's the back page of The Sun. And then a couple of the other sports pages. We go to the UK, and the Daily Telegraph goes with the cricket. Caribbean calamity. 18 wickets fall on day 2 as England are skittled out for 77 in stunning collapse. They're up against the West Indies. And the back page of The Guardian goes with the same story. Blast from the past. West Indies stir painful memories as England are torn apart for 77 on a bewildering day 1 in Barbados where 18 wickets fell. And then finally, the Racing Post goes with the big racing story of the week. the front page. Presenting Percy sets Gold Cup punters purring. An unbelievable performance from Presenting Percy yesterday in Gorham Park, favourite for the Gold Cup, I think, at this point. And as the headline says there, Irish Racing is pretty excited about this horse.
There was a story with a roadshow last night at the Sugar Club. I think it might have been Patrick Mullins was at it, Davy Russell was at it, and I think it was Davy who had said that he had named his son's middle name as Percy on the back of the association there.
Wow, that's a big commitment, isn't right it? There.
Because it's such a bloody unusual name, like. Well, not a bad name, but you know. A few people in touch on YouTube, Owen. I mean, let's sort of dive right in there.
Your tone right there is like a few people in touch that would suggest that you're winning the argument here. You seem pretty cocky.
I mean, you've taken a lot from me saying there's a few people in touch on YouTube. Well, I mean, you might be right, but regardless. The Troisonator saying that Zebo wouldn't make it into the 23. No guarantee that he'd make it on the plane. Obviously, this is a World Cup context. The Irish backline is so deep. A player as good as Conway is unlikely to make it. Apparently, and this is kind of the interesting aspect of this, and I don't know if it's true actually, so, you know. Apparently, the shortlist is only based on the last 2 rounds, which is why Sexton and Lowe aren't on it. A bit of a weird process.
That's
neither of us can sort of corroborate that. I don't know one or the other. So
I don't know why that would be the case. Or I suppose maybe it's 2019, so all the rounds that were in 2018 are forgotten about.
A lot of people are pointing out, did I use these exact words? I didn't use these exact words, but people are saying that I had said rugby is not a try-scoring contest, which is not actually what I said.
No, you said...
Did I? Tommy's telling me that's exactly what I said.
Well, you said the hooker position is not about try-scoring.
And I said that actually what I said was, I did not say that rugby is not a try-scoring contest. I said that the European Player of the Year award is not a try-scoring contest.
Yeah, no, you did, in fairness. You did say that. We can clarify that.
Come on, YouTube. Let's get on top of this one. A couple of stories. Tommy Bowe is going to be with us in a few minutes, so we'll have somebody who actually has some credibility in this discussion to lend their way to it. A couple of stories that just jumped out at us. One of them are particularly their own about Stephen Kenny yesterday, obviously in front of the press. One of his first official duties as the New Republic of Ireland under-21 manager, and to unveil his backroom team as well, including our own Keith Andrews, is joining up as Stephen Kenny's assistant manager for the next couple of years. So best of luck to him for that. It does mean that, unfortunately, his Thursday afternoon slot, the Keith Andrews show, is no longer on, and as we were saying yesterday, it's in bubble wrap until such time in the hopefully very distant future when he's no longer coaching.
You just have to look for another former professional who's out of work at the moment. So the Thierry Henry show is coming to a show near you very, very shortly.
Well handled. But anyway, Stephen Kenny, the big line that's coming out of this yesterday was that he is not necessarily going to, it looks like, love bomb a lot of sort of potential Irish players who are English born or non-Irish born, I suppose might be the way to put it. That actually what he wants to do is nurture more homegrown players. I don't know why you can't do those things. The thing that strikes me is do both of those things in parallel. Why can't you nurture homegrown players? And he's talking about the style that he wants to play, that there will be Dundalkness about it. He wants to see technical players. He wants his players to play football. I just don't know why, if there are players that are keen and eager, the Declan Rices of this world who actually want to play for Ireland, why you wouldn't seek those out and bring them in.
Yeah, I'm sure that is going to be the case. He does talk about the eagerness to play for Ireland, the pride in the jersey, wanting to be an Ireland under-21 international, and that's what he wants, rather than actually going after the players at this age. And I think there is an element of truth in that should be the way you go about business, particularly at the underage level, that maybe when it gets to senior level, it's more of a results-based thing. That will Stephen Kenny be judged on his results as harshly as Mick McCarthy? Well, of course not. The spotlight is going to be bigger on Mick McCarthy. This is in their current roles, is what I mean.
In a lot of ways, it doesn't matter what he does in his current role, does it really, for the next couple of years?
No, but
it's a pass either way.
The thing is, if you get good results and you qualify for tournaments, and Ireland are beating teams that they don't ordinarily beat at under-21 level, then his stock rises massively. The defeats probably won't be looked into as much, and it is sort of a process-driven thing, the underage management, and bringing through players and bringing them through at the very best of their ability, and that is what the role of the under-21 manager for me should be. That should be the most important thing. Forget about what the actual results are, and think about what the players that are coming through. Now, Declan Rice would have fallen into that category of player who would have seemed really dedicated to the Ireland under-21 jersey, and that's fine. But I just think the Declan Rice situation is a little bit different. I don't think there's going to be too many of those situations.
That's exactly the point, yeah. And let's not base an entire strategy on
exactly
off the back of one player deciding that he may or may not be Irish. But yeah, the other converse side of that is that that he does play this nice technical football where they're knocking it around and we end up getting beaten by teams that we would normally beat, and then suddenly there's everybody questioning everything in the, you know. But I don't know. Do you know, I just don't think... I think that people will pay a little bit more attention, obviously, to the under-21 setup over the next couple of years, just on the basis of Stephen Kenny making that progression afterwards. But by and large, people don't really care about under-21 results one way or the other.
Not the results. They'll certainly watch the players and seeing where they're going. And when it comes to the idea of actually... I don't want to use the word poaching players, but certainly looking into the dual nationality quite a bit. I think we'll be much quicker to park any reservations we might have about that at a senior level, particularly if it leads to better results. Now the thing is, his predecessor here, Noel King, has been installed into some sort of recruitment role, hasn't he, that he might be able to take on the burden. So perhaps it just isn't Stephen Kenny's remit here to actually go and recruit the thing, that it's actually going to be up to King to do it.
Yeah. So that was interesting stuff. Keith Andrews is going to be a roaring success.
He's doing his coaching badges at the moment, eager to learn, eager to go straight back in and involve himself with that. So I'd imagine so. Like, I do wonder, well, I'm not wondering, I know for a fact that it was his top class off the ball punditry that got him the gig. Yeah. John Delaney was looking at the Keith Andrews show every Thursday and was like, that guy's good, so I want him in my setup.
Look, it'll be interesting. There wasn't a huge amount of detail about it yesterday, actually. I know that Nathan was out there and he did ask a couple of questions about sort of how the backroom team came about.
It was more a squad announcement, so it wasn't actually unveiling Keith Andrews.
No, and there wasn't a huge amount of conversation about it necessarily. But it'll be interesting. Hopefully we'll get him in at some point and put the spotlight on him, give him the Keith Andrews treatment. You know?
I don't think anybody else is capable of giving the Keith Andrews treatment.
That's true. Right, keeper comments coming into us.